is Shasta Garcia, and I'm the host of Shastas Journey. This show is all about people's path to a purpose, and I have a question to ask you. Have you ever wondered how God can be moving and working within your family? Well, I have a couple that is on the show today, and they are going to be sharing how God has been faithful throughout their marriage and throughout their family. And just keep in mind throughout the show that, they're human beings just like us, and even though that they do set a great example of what it's like to have God in the center of a marriage and within a family, there's still a lot that happens, and I just want to, put that across, is that we can all be like this couple in a sense of just putting God first in everything that we do. So I just want to thank Shannon and Skip Sharp so much for being on the show. They are a couple out of Mountain Ranch, California, and I've known them for several years now, and every interaction that I've had with them is an absolute blessing.
Thanks, Shasta. It's good to be here, and thanks for inviting us.
Yes, I actually had their kids on. I think it was the previous. Yeah. I think I've had them on some of Shasta's Journey shows,
and like 3 years
Shasta's
ago,
Teen Journey shows.
Right?
Yes,
and Justin as he was graduating.
Yeah, and they've been very involved in missions. They've been able to come on and share their heart for what they're doing for the Lord. So I'm excited to hear about what happens behind the scenes of the people who raise these incredible kids. So I'm definitely excited to see that. So could you tell me a little bit about yourselves and how you kind of connect into this community?
Sure. Well, Skip's family bought property in Mountain Ranch in the 1950s, and I visited the ranch with him when I was actually a senior in high school. He was not my teacher, though he did work at the high school that I was in a theater program at, and we started dating a year into my first year of college. And when we first visited the ranch, I was with a group of friends and got lost multiple times driving out Whiskey Slide Road. And I remember saying he said, "I want to build a house and live out here someday." It was before we were dating, actually. And he said, and I replied, "Whoever ends up with you has got to be crazy. This place is so far out in the middle of nowhere." And I never dreamed that, 5 years later, I think, it was we started building our house in 2001, I guess it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
I had told my mom when I was 3 that I was going to move to Mountain Ranch and live on the ranch because I loved it. And when I was getting married, I realized quickly that talking to my wife about living at the ranch was not a good thing to do in our marriage, so I just let it go.
I would just get so stressed out because I grew up in San Jose, and he grew up in Modesto, but I am like city slicker through and through. Like, what would we do out there? So
now I see her out there working with the pigs and the turkeys and the horses, and
gosh,
yes, it's
like
very
old
funny.
McDonald had a farm.
And what is it like now, looking back? And at one point, you didn't want what God had for you, but all of a sudden, years later, you are at that place that you never thought that you would end up.
It's true. I mean, I remember writing Christmas cards and saying, did you ever think that I would end up, living out, in the country with 4 kids? And I thought it was going to be a single missionary in Indonesia. That was what I thought God's plan and vision was for me. And it ended up all so different, but far beyond the blessings that I ever dreamed, and humbling and learning so much in the process. So
it was mostly our son's fault in the fact that so we blame it on Justin. So when we had a boy, we were living in the Santa Cruz Mountains, which was beautiful, but we were having to move down to San Jose because juggling a kid and work is very difficult. And Shannon just goes, "I think I want my son to grow up in the country instead of the city." Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "Whoa, are you serious? Don't tell me that. I'll quit my job tomorrow." And she goes,
finding bullfrogs in the stream or counting ants in the sidewalk cracks. Which do you prefer? And I said, "I think I want to live at the ranch." And he was blown away.
Wow. Yeah. Were you praying for that all those years? Lord, please change your heart.
So the funny thing is, I generally pray that I'm the one that changes.
Oh, okay.
Not that God changes to meet me somewhere, but that because I feel His plan is going to be way better than one I could come up with. So,
amen to that.
Yeah, so I'm usually, it was it's a long time thinking back as we've been married for so long, but
21 years.
21 years.
But 21.
That's so beautiful.
But I remember, I remember falling in love with Shannon, and we were dating, and I'm like, I remember praying, for some reason I liked three things, right? So 3 times I said, God, if this isn't the person you want me to end up with, then you need to end this, because if you don't, then I'm gonna ask her to marry me. So I gave God 3 chances, and he didn't stop anything. So I was like, okay, then I guess
all right,
this is okay.
And I was ready to give him 3 chances. We had actually gone to Europe with a group of teenagers, a group of theater kids, and we went to the Eiffel Tower and all sorts of places. And I'm like, surely he'll propose. I was a senior in college. And it was the summer, and he didn't propose, and I thought, okay, this is never going to happen.
Oh, no.
Didn't know he was praying, 3 chances God to take her away, and I'm like, 3 chances or he's out of here. No, I'm sorry.
And of course, I was very practical. If I got engaged at the Eiffel Tower, we'd have to go back often. And I thought, ooh, that's going to be expensive. We need to get engaged someplace closer. So we got engaged in Golden Gate Park when she was living in San Francisco.
And it's a very romantic story, but we can leave that for another show, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. This couple, they're one of those people that, have a bunch of different hats, and 30 minutes is just not enough. But I suggest that you go ahead and get some popcorn. You can go ahead and pause this, get some popcorn, and just enjoy the rest of the show of just how God is just moving and working, throughout this couple. And so how do you think, just looking back on everything, because I think that's how you really see how God has been faithful. Sometimes it's hard to see how God is being faithful in the moment, but looking back years past, you just see how God's hand was on everything. Have you ever kind of thought about what your life would have been if it didn't happen? I mean, just imagine all the blessings that come out of something that you didn't even realize would have happened.
It is true. Had I not met Skip, or had we not chosen to take the flying leap of building our own house and living out at the ranch, and we talk to friends back from the Bay Area or whatever, and it's like, how's it working out for you guys? And it's been a rocky road sometimes. To make the decision to have a larger family, to own our own business and really live off of a single breadwinner. Skip does custom woodworking, and that again, we could both have had full-time jobs. I was a high school English teacher, and he was a theater set designer, and so on. And then to homeschool, which we probably chat about a little bit. But every step that we've taken, every decision we've made, though it's had its hardships, exactly what you said, you look back and go, I never dreamed that we would see God working in such amazing ways through our children, through even challenging decisions, and looking back then realizing, that guided us on this path, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not just a hindsight 2020, it's like hindsight is, continued blessings and preparation for the next blessing that you don't even realize is happening, so.
Exactly. Skip, could you tell me a little bit about, have you guys always had this faith connection, or is it something that has just kind of molded over the years, or did you guys come into the marriage both knowing God?
So definitely we both came into the marriage knowing God. So we both had a relationship with God since we were kids. And we both have been very involved in wherever we were. So for my journey, I started teaching Sunday school when I was 16, and I still teach Sunday school. So it's probably the thing I've done longer in my life than anything else. And so that was always, and then I did a lot of work with youth groups. Shannon started missions trips when she was 14 years old. I had done some missions trips, and we actually, I was a set and costume designer, and we were doing Fiddler on the Roof. Shannon was trying to get back together with her boyfriend. So
he was Tevye, and Skip was the set designer of the show, and
so she did the show in order to get back together with him. And on the show, we had a ski trip, and on the ski trip, Shannon and I got into this awesome conversation about faith and about the kingdom of God. The next day we went skiing. I made a jump, or found a jump, and I was doing backflips off the jump. Shannon, wanting to be cool, went off the jump and shattered her elbow, broke her elbow, and ended up in the hospital.
Sounds like something I would do.
and then did the show Fiddler on the Roof with a cast. So she couldn't raise her hand fully.
Oh, I've done plays on crutches before.
So from the beginning, and we developed ultimately a really great friendship.
We talked so much about God and church and heaven and everything in the very beginning. It was, that was something.
And that wasn't,
really...
you weren't even going into this friendship with the intention that, I'm going to get with him.
Oh,
it was
no.
very like, you were trying to get back with your ex, and I think that was like a perfect heart that you were in because, you went into it with such a different mindset than most of us,
Yeah, and he became one of my closest friends, and there's a bit of an age difference, and my mom especially had some concern about that. The summer before I was leaving for college, you're going to fall in love with this person and drop out of school and, all this or that. And I was like, whoa.
Did that happen? Or
no, it didn't.
You went to school? Okay.
We got married 2 weeks after I graduated. But, so long distance relationship for 4 years. And in fact, actually, when I first went away to college, right at the beginning of that first semester, I told him, I really care about you. I like you. I might totally mess up our friendship telling you that. And he said, I don't want to take away your experience of getting to meet people and growing and maturing, so let's just put this all on hold. And for my first semester, he insisted, date people and go do what a college freshman is supposed to enjoy, be free with that. And I did go out with a few guys, and I remember I came back at Christmas break, and I'm like, I have met some of the strangest people. My heart's with you. I don't know what else to say,
Aww.
So,
But I was going to have to call her mom.
Oh, yeah.
And so they put that off as long as I could until the summer came. And I'm like, okay, you seriously still want to date me? I have to call your mom and talk to her. Mm-hmm. And so I did. It worked out fine. And then
Praise God.
And then the next week she tells me, right after we started dating officially, I'm going to England next semester of school. So
that was another thing to just take faith in. And I remember him saying, if God means for us to be together, I was used to when I would go on missions trips in high school, and if I was seeing somebody or whatever, they'd be like, you're going to leave me for the whole summer. And he was so different. He was like, you are going to have such an amazing experience, and we'll just pick up where we left off. If we're meant to stay together, if that's what God intends, then we'll find our way through that.
What an awesome heart of God, truly.
Yeah, it was.
Well, it has to be ultimately. I remember we talked a lot about love, actually, was the funny thing. Do you remember all of that? I used to write to you about that stuff. And the other person has to be the important thing. It couldn't be about me if I was going to be in a relationship with someone. It had to be about them and what was best for them. So when she had opportunities to do, I'm like, of course I'm going to miss you, but this is the best thing for you. Go enjoy this, And always felt, God's in control. If it's meant to be, it'll be. If it's not, I don't want to make it happen, force it or anything like that. So,
what a great example to set forth for me and for the viewers, and it's really
and
inspiring.
For our son and our daughters.
Absolutely. What type of hardships have you guys been through? Because on the surface it looks like you're happy, everyone's great, but I know that there's things that go on. So, what types of things have you guys been through where you truly have seen God continue to just be faithful?
I think it's interesting owning our own business and realizing that God provides in amazing ways, and it isn't just by money. So there have been times that we've financially been pretty strapped, and
oh my gosh,
all the cars break down at the same time, and
which was just last week, but that's okay.
Oh man. We live far out from everywhere, so for example, the Butte fire that happened almost 2.5 years ago. It burned over our property. It burned Skip's wood shop down. And
that was the business, right?
That was the business.
Wow.
So to instantly be unemployed, but to leave that day, and so many people in our community can relate with the fact that whether you just evacuated your home or you lost everything, that time of not knowing, those few days or even up to a week for some people, did our house make it or not, and where are we going and what's happening? That shook us to the core, our whole family. And I do remember saying that night, we were staying with our friends in Angels Camp, Pick a country. What country do you want to go be missionaries in? Because if our house and everything is gone, we are packing up and we are just going to go.
We wouldn't have anything to pack up.
Well, that's
We're
true.
Go shopping and then go. We'll go shopping and then go somewhere.
If it had to be somewhere, where would it be?
I still want to go to Indonesia. That's been my dream. I went there for 2 summers, and I just have a heart for that country. It's so. My next door neighbors, growing up, they had been missionaries in Borneo, and I would go over to their house and just flip through all their photo albums, and they were with the tribes and stuff. And I wrote a missionary when I was in 2nd grade. Our church had these big mission conferences, and I just had this amazing pen pal relationship and thought, this is how I envision my life, So Indonesia would have been where I wanted to go.
Well, hopefully it does not take a fire to get you guys there.
No, I know. We've thought about, our kids have been doing short-term missions with Teen Missions International. They've gone to Africa, Nepal, and in fact, Siga is going to Ethiopia this summer.
And if people want to get in contact with you, I don't think we did get your contact information, but how can people get a hold of you to help fund your children to go on these missions and different things
that
like
would be awesome. They're welcome to shoot us an email, skipnshannon@gmail.com, or give us a ring. I can give myself a number. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
If you feel comfortable with that,
Sure.
go ahead and share it. I'd be fine with that.
Call at 996-4910.
Yeah.
And I can, or shoot me a text, and that's totally in God's hands. In fact, I have to share this amazing story. Siga is signed up to go to Ethiopia. I've had some health issues and so on, and I haven't been able to really help her focus on her fundraising like I did in years past. And we got this phone call last week. She needs to have $2,000 by Friday evening or Monday morning first thing for them to buy the airline ticket. And if she doesn't have it, they have to move her to a U.S. team or a less expensive team. And she really was just so excited about this time to Ethiopia. And we were out of town at a conference. I just put a picture of her on Facebook with the link to the online donation and just said, she needed about $1,500 more at that point. 150 people gave $10 each, we'd be there. Well, people shared it with people that we didn't even know, and family members responded and friends, and always from the least expected sources sometimes, where it's like, this person gave what? How much? And even this morning we found out $1,000 more came in, and she is more than halfway to finishing out her funding, which is really awesome.
I got God bumps, actually.
Yeah.
Shannon and I were talking about this outside of the studio, just the fact that sometimes you feel like God waits till the very last minute to fulfill what you need, and it's always so nerve-wracking and stressful. And but when it comes down to it, God's got you. God's got you, and you can see that exactly from the story. I mean, you're 48 hours, and you're like, how is this going to happen? And it seems like the impossible.
I mean, the years before, we've gone and spoken at churches, we've sold donuts, we've done all sorts of things, and literally it was just people, seeing that Facebook post and going right to that link. And even the people at Teen Missions, she was like, I couldn't even print the things, process the payments fast enough. It was really cool. So.
Well, that's how she's definitely supposed to
go.
Be going.
Yeah.
I know how that is. We're raising money for my little sister Holly to go to Mexico with me, and God's faithful with that as well. So I definitely, if you guys have stories to share of how God has been faithful in your life, you guys can go to shastasjourney.com, and I'd love to hear that. And it's such a blessing to hear what God is doing in other people's lives. And I would love to hear how you guys have used your faith, at the start of your guys' relationship to really help you guys and to direct you guys on raising 4 kids.
Well, you got to tell about the you can color your hair thing or whatever.
I was a high school teacher. After when I started dating Shannon, I realized that being an independent set designer and costume designer was not a very good family job. So the school that it was a school called Valley Christian High School in San Jose, and the superintendent wanted me to come aboard. So I taught math and theater set design and theater construction, and so I could get insurance and all those real grown-up things. And but so I had
And
worked
he had
with
a ponytail too.
Yeah, so my hair was way down here, and you weren't allowed to have long hair at the school. And the superintendent goes, "Can't you just put your hair in a hat?" And when he said that,
Or even a wig. He offered to get you a
no,
wig.
a hat to go meet with the board.
Right,
and so I realized that it didn't really matter to him, right? Having long hair is well, that's a whole subject in itself. But I had worked with kids a lot, so as I raised my kids, I said, if you love God and you seek after God in your life, I don't care if you have blue hair, green hair, mohawk, tattoos, but if you don't love God and you're on your own, then I'm going to expect you to be responsible with a nice haircut so you can get a good job, right? If you're going to go out this world by yourself, then you're going to have to follow the rules. But if it's really God leading you, whatever you want, right? It doesn't matter to me then, right? And of course, my kids haunt me with that at times. As Justin's growing his hair out and beard at school, so, but I always felt like...
None of them have colored their hair purple yet, though.
No, not purple.
Oh, man. There's no wood to knock on, guys.
Yeah, it might come. It might happen. But so at church, I have my kids in Sunday school, right? Now, all the kids keep going away to college, so it's getting down to just my kids. No. So we get to spend an hour a week really focused on faith and faith in their life, and it's really been awesome. Mm-hmm. It's been wonderful, and then it's very interesting to watch them go into the world and share that, or experience people of different faiths or different Christian backgrounds, and so it's been exciting for me. I went on my own Christian journey through Christianity, through different groups of Christianity, and it always was important to me for some reason. It was just, it was funny because, you don't want God to do certain things because you know that they're going to be hard and painful, but in the end they're good. Mm-hmm. So it's like you don't really want to say, God, challenge me so I'll grow, but you really want to grow, so you have to be open.
It's usually the hardest prayer to pray, just because he's going to come through.
Or it's just thy will be done. That's one thing, for our family, for our marriage, to submit yourself to God's will, when you always think his ways aren't our ways, right? But I just honestly think if he just knew and I could explain my ways so
good. It's such a good idea.
Well, it's so easy to say, let your will be done, but actually going through it is a whole another story, because sometimes you have to go through a lot to get to where he wants you to go. But I think that's so amazing. If you guys just go ahead and look back on all the years, and you can truly see that God has had his hand on everything, even in the worst situations that you could possibly think, how is God looking out for me? Where is God? He is there. He's always with us.
Yeah. And usually he's carrying us at that moment.
Oh yeah.
We just don't realize that how much worse it would be if he sat us down. But
I wouldn't want to know.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I can definitely say about our family, we're a very open family. We talk a lot about everything, and our kids do see our struggles, and we don't hide all of that from them. Maybe we talk about too much sometimes. I don't know.
My parents are the same way, but I think I came out pretty decent. So
I don't know. I think that they see, as much as we strive to, reach for stability, success, whatever, life is hard, and you go through ups and downs, and you forgive each other, you love each other. My heart is, I want my children to know God, to know his presence, and that he is always there for them no matter what they do or say. His mercy and his love abounds. And then if they can understand that in their own hearts, they can show that love to other people. And, if necessary, use words, but most importantly, just by caring for one another, showing compassion and loving other people, eventually they see that love comes from God, not just from them, so.
That's such a great lesson. And we only have like 5 minutes left. And I didn't even mention this cute little dog on the ground. He's so cute.
Yes.
He's sleeping, just snoring just a little bit.
He
You
was
can't
snoring.
hear it.
This is
We should have given him
Scooter.
a mic, huh?
This is Scooter. He is a guide dog for the blind puppy that our daughter Catherine is raising, and I'm
He's out right
helping
now.
out. He is,
He's
right.
fast
So
asleep.
they really are trained to, when they're meant to just be quiet and calm, that's what they do. So.
Well, I thought I should mention it because it just looks like this black thing next to him. Like, it's a doggy. It's cute. At least it's not too distracting.
Right.
He's so cute. Look at him.
Yes.
So cute.
Hi, Scooter.
Hopefully I'm not being too loud to wake him up because he'll get so excited.
Right.
But you guys also mentioned that you have put your kids on homeschool. Tell me a little bit about how that has allowed you to truly just bring them closer to God and just make your family whole.
We, for part of the time, schooled through or used an organization called Classical Conversations, where we got to meet with other homeschooling families once a week and did work together, all with the focus of God being the center. We think of education as being all these different subjects, but if we see that God is the origin of all things, the creator of all things, and to look at every aspect of education through the lens of how can I know God deeper and how can I make him known to others. And so I think of it as three spokes. You got to have a willing student, right? If you don't have a child that really wants to focus on independent study and learning at home and seeing you, the parent, as their teacher, that can be a real challenge. And you need to have a resourceful parent, because I can't, well, some would say I could learn everything and be a lifelong learner, but I've learned to resource, especially for our high school students, so they can access classes like you did at the junior college or community college. And then it takes, qualified tutors, other, resources that can teach them beyond what I necessarily can. But it's a lifelong journey with them. What's it been like?
I always call it homeschooling with a purpose. I feel like if there's a purpose behind it, I know for me, I was always very hesitant to go on homeschool. And God really opened up an opportunity for that to happen. I was going through a lot, and that was the only option at that point.
Yeah.
And I was a very outgoing social person, and going on a homeschool was like such a fear of mine, but it ended up turning out to be such a blessing. But, I totally agree with those three things.
Yeah. It opens doors for lots of freedom if you have an interest in certain areas and so on. But it's also not for everybody necessarily. And I'd always said, every child is different in our family, and we just find what works. But
we always sought to just do the best thing we could do in the situation, and I did, for me, my kids had to learn to get along with each other. Right, I go, in your life, the one thing you're going to have forever is each other, right?
Amen.
You meet people in school, and I have friends from school, but once you start having kids, you don't get to see them very often. But your family, you're going to see, right? You're going to get together. So it really, that part has worked out well. And homeschooling, at least for our kids, communicating with all ages, conversations with adults, and being able to, articulate themselves. It's a lot easier as a homeschooler because the majority of the time you're in a mixed ages, like when you meet people. So, so it worked out better than we thought.
And we can be involved in lots of other things and organizations and things like that. So it's not like we're all cloistered at home, which is often a misconception. Sometimes we're supposed to sort of be home to homeschool, but we're like in the car.
We kind of homeschool in the world, not at home.
Yeah.
World school.
I just want to thank you guys so much for being on the show and just sharing your heart and being real with the viewers. I want to thank you guys so much for watching and being a part of my Path to Purpose. Please go share your story at shastasjourney.com, and I just pray that God just completely blesses you guys.
Thanks so much, Shasta.